Hello World Wide Web, I'm Shado, the internet personality who desperately needs to get back on schedule, but excuses aside, it's time to take a look at KILLER SAURUS. A request for this year's Dinocember. Of course, there's the problem you might have noticed that there isn't a Dinocember this year. However, just because we're not getting dinosaur-themed movies all December long doesn't mean I have to avoid them entirely. And KILLER SAURUS is our favorite kind of dinosaur movie, terrifyingly low budget, with a story that kind of explains why dinosaurs are walking among us now, but not really if you like your plots to actually, make sense. Simply put, we get a group of scientists doing sciencey sciences. However, one thing leads to another, and before you know it, the project has turned into bringing dinosaurs back from extinction. It turns out, though, that that's just the beginning of the terror that awaits. I really can't get into too much more detail during the preliminary summary, though, because, well, there's enough plot in this movie to fill out about a sentence and a half. So let's take a look at KILLER SAURUS and drag this thing on as long as possible. The movie opens to the completion of the huge experiment. Well, that's one way to do it. Screw spending 90 minutes building up to something when you can just do it from the get-go. Introducing the lab assistant Kaylee, played by Helen Crevel, and the head of the experiment, Professor Peterson, played by Steve Dalton, who has other things on his mind.
I want to know how the operation went.
Pretty good. I ripped out their intestines, played catch with their kidneys, and jabbed the fuck out of them with the medicine, and myself. I'm high as fuck right now, man. Surgeon Simulator is awesome.
I want to know if she's okay.
Oh, no, she's fucking dead. I mean, after you start tripping balls, it's really hard to put any kind of finesse into the power drill. Never mind, it seems she's in theme hospital, as they have the patient, but won't perform the operation until after the check clears. So it's time for Peterson to make some money. Eventually, Secret Labs performing cutting-edge experiments force fantastic scientific breakthroughs on a frickin' Tandy 1000. This super high-tech loading time is so ungodly slow it takes enough time for Amy, played by Vicky Glover, to talk with Kaylee girl to girl. Seems that Kaylee here has had direct input on how this experiment is being compiled today. According to Amy, this is because she's obviously Peterson's favorite.
I was up in his control room.
That's not true.
Kaylee Ma, can you report to my control room, please?
How come it's because she's so skilled as a scientist? It's not like the professor's just calling her up there at random to make sure she's still got boobies.
Professor?
Tits or GTFO? Honestly, I'm still not sure why he needed her, because it seems that the professor just wanted to spout some exposition about how much this operation costs, and the truly fantastic things they're doing here that have never been accomplished before.
We are about to create a creature that hasn't walked this earth for millions of years.
An honest-to-God unbiased journalist. Or a motherfucking Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is far more believable. However, it is a tad dangerous, so Peterson here wants to make sure that Kaylee witnesses this historic moment in the relative safety of the control room.
I'm going back to the hangar.
Kaylee!
Okay, I wasn't babying you. I wasn't just trying to keep you unnecessarily safe. It's just that... Well, Kaylee, if this works, I want to celebrate with a lap dance. Well, it's not like you can tell how well the experiment went from the control room anyway, considering while they have a super expensive laser bioprinter thingamajig that costs 750,000 pounds each time it's turned on, no one remembered to spring for a GoPro in the printing room, so someone has to check on how it went, which Amy eagerly volunteers for.
Be careful. We don't know. Can't you give anyone else a chance to shine?
Bitch, I got through college with honors on my knees. You better worry about your job security once I get my tongue in the professor's ass. Thus, she smacks the button for the big fucking garage door and slaps on a gas mask because, well, evidently toxic chemicals in the air only matter when you get within 5 feet of their source. However, that's the least of her worries. She came face to face with the terror! The abysmally low budget. I mean, you can't really spring for a proper head, so let's just stick a mannequin head or some shit into a gas mask. That's close enough. Throw a wig on there. Forgot the stage blood, didn't we? So she's fucking dead. Oh, and she's fucking dead too. The lady in the hospital just got a call. Might have been important to tell the guy she was dying 5 minutes ago. He might have been able to put it on the MasterCard, but never mind that. The crisis is here, so let's stop this and just go to the opening credits. Mark Hamill? Oh, wait. That's with a C, not a K. Oh, I wonder what the hell is he doing? Oh! He was one of the guys in the background pretending to poke buttons. What the fuck has he done? Alien Covenant? He's working... Oh. Oh, no. Alien Convent. Well, that confusion out of the way-ish, we see another angle of the scene we just saw, but it's cool, it's just a flashback nightmare by Kaylee, who wakes her boyfriend, Jed, played by Kenton Hall.
Jesus, it's been 3 months, you've gotta talk to somebody.
I can't, Jed. I signed a non-disclosure agreement.
So if she talks, massive legal problems. That's a pretty good reason not to say anything after just 3 months and only having suffered some recurring nightmares.
Doesn't mean you can't talk to me about it.
Non-disclosure agreement. It means she can't talk to anyone who doesn't already know. That's exactly what it means.
You're a journalist. You give away secrets for a living.
Yeah, this movie's very damn focused on prehistoric creatures. As his strategy of getting the story from her by telling her she needs to get it off her chest goes nowhere, he changes tactics to talking about how she never got her last paycheck, and there's lawsuits to be won against such an irresponsible employer. Hearing she doesn't want to sue, he finally breaks through the ice by convincing her to go back there and get it off her chest by talking with her employer about it. But, bring him in tow too, because he wants to check the place out.
We're going, right?
No cameras.
No cameras.
It's okay, Jed knows. If it ain't a DSLR, it really doesn't count. Unsurprisingly, he says he wants to help, but he actually is trying to get a great story for his tabloid. Michelle Obama having a penis is actually the more believable story on that page. How the hell is Chelsea Clinton going to run for president in the year that they don't have a presidential election? The story promises to be so big, though, he calls up the Herald and his correspondent, Tom Delaney, played by Steve Lawson. Thing is, he's heard Jed's tales before and isn't too enthused about this new talk about ambiguous, unknown story that's gotta be big because reasons.
But it can't be hearsay. There's got to be evidence.
Like what?
I can say it louder. I'll tell them if they don't believe me they're a monster. What else do you want? Interestingly enough, for a super top secret, massively expensive experimental operation, it's not only housed in an unassuming warehouse, but the security is pretty shit. No guards, a keypad, and an intercom. As they change the passcode, that means the two of them have no choice but to figure out how to press a button and talk before it's too late.
Professor Peterson!
It's the Professor... Pizza Man! That's not going to work. It's bacon and olives! Unsurprisingly, Peterson has no clue who this fucknugget is and doesn't care to have him interrupt his regularly scheduled suicide. However, hearing Kaylee asking to come in is enough to make him reconsider and bring her in, with her friend who has no idea what he's doing here, but fortunately, Kaylee can guide him around.
I know this building intimately.
Do you know the professor intimately as well?
Okay, in all seriousness, it's just about no fucking reason to think that she's romantically involved with the man at all. It just so happens that practically every other character she talks to can't stop imagining her fucking him. Despite bringing him all the fucking way inside, instead of just leaving him at the door, Kaylee thinks that she can trust him to just hang back by the last door and not come in while she chats with Peterson. Unsurprisingly, he refuses to stay back and winds up in the room with the two of them anyway, making sure this psychologically healing heart-to-heart can be as awkward as possible as he keeps interrupting them.
You saying I overreacted?
No,
3 deaths, Kaylee.
What?
It also helps that Peterson has no idea how to not say anything incriminating around people that you don't know if you can trust yet.
You did what you had to keep the project funded.
What project?
You heard of bioprinting, Mr. Bailey?
When you got a squirrely-looking guy who just keeps asking questions about your top-secret research, why wouldn't you just blurt it all out for the whole world to hear? I guess, it wouldn't really matter too much if he was going to go with Plan A. Thus begins Peterson's long story about how far along bioprinting has come. You see, it's an amazing medical technology that one day may be able to print people new hearts, lungs, livers, or even entire limbs. Hell, Peterson already used it quite effectively after an accident of his own.
Jesus, you 3D printed yourself new fingers.
Yes. That was my first successful test.
And despite this being an amazing medical breakthrough that's worth ass tons of money already, still has, some problems.
But isn't experimenting with stem cells illegal?
Embryonic stem cells, not induced pluripotent stem cells, or several other techniques to get stem cell-like benefits without actually having to harvest human embryos. But hospitals gave no shit for a cure to dismemberment and instead took a contract to 3D print a motherfucking T-Rex, which Jed can take a look at if he likes.
It's been in there more than 3 months behind that shutter. I can't believe for one moment it survived.
Dude, that's only slightly longer than it took your computer to boot up. Jed, being the investigative clickbait peddler he is, jumps at the chance to head down to the lab with Kaylee and check out the fresh bones of the creature they normally would only see really old bones of, while Peterson stays behind in the control room. However, he gets a call from an old colleague, Andrews, played by Julian Boot.
We had a successful build.
Well, this is fantastic. When were you going to tell us?
Judging by his desire to fillet a cult? Never. Never mind this exposition, let's go back to the two down in the lab, where Kaylee explains there's sulfur dioxide everywhere, and promptly removes her gas mask anyway.
What's that? Don't!
It's not for publication, alright?
It's for personal use. So while Jed betrays Kaylee, Andrew chastises Peterson for not continuing with the research just because 3 people died. Hell, 2 of them weren't even named, so fuck them.
Look, I'm coming down there.
No.
I want to see all the data that you have for Tier 2. We could discuss your financial irregularities as well.
Financial irregularities? Firing everyone and not conducting experiments sounds like a way to save you money. That's coming later, though. First we gotta go back to Jed here, who discovers a disembodied arm in the chamber. Thus the 2 others sit him down to explain that they whipped up a T-Rex, but their reasoning behind moving from medical transplants to fucking dinosaurs was sound.
Before we could move to the human trials, a change in the law meant that stem cell research was impossible.
Now, thanks for not mentioning that all the stem cell research you did took place before it became illegal, making me looking up all the ways that you could do it now without using embryonic stem cells completely pointless, except for now the fact I know that there's ways you could do it without using embryonic stem cells, making me wonder why the hell you didn't just do that instead of moving on to fucking dinosaurs. The professor goes on to say the choice is more about how to make the technology profitable, because, hey, who wouldn't pay to gawk at a biotechnologically generated monstrosity?
What an incredible educational addition to any zoo or theme park.
But sadly, the lawyers at Universal let us know that was a bit too close, I'm afraid. They also explained the trial and error of getting the thing to work, and effectively all they did was 3D print an alligator onto the shape of a T-Rex, but, you know, it's a thought that counts. However, Jed's insistence to be let down there and see it even better gets the best of him.
This is the biggest story in the world. And it's gonna have pictures.
Jed!
Kaylee, wait.
The guy's had dead tattooed on his face ever since he'd been on screen. Just let nature take its course. Hell, even when he quickly taps a few buttons to shut and lock the doors, this is somehow magically after Jed gets in the chamber to see what it is.
Shit.
Neglecting to remember this was running towards the gigantic bipedal carnivore. And yeah, all the rest of the movie, they've just been sitting around talking about shit and not actually doing anything. But, you know, sooner or later, the monster is revealed in the monster movie. Thus, the Rex attacks and hangs up the man's phone. Seriously, he's still alive, the phone still works, but it's hung up now. This means they can concentrate on the important part.
How can it have survived?
I don't bloody care!
Focus!
Paleo diet? Flintstones chewables? What could it be?
We used alligator biology to fill in blanks on the creature's body structure.
Oh, it's a classic, whoopsie, animals are confusing excuse. It goes because alligators hibernate for months without food, and despite the Rex only having 3 people to sustain itself on and no fucking water, obviously it hibernated in the dark and cold of the printing room. That's all well and good, but Jed's still down there with a dinosaur, and his unreasonably skeptical editor. So let's move on to what matters, backstory and exposition.
I've never actually told you why I started this project.
Shits and giggles. Now, let's discuss this over the next 20 minutes. Rather, he has a picture in his desk of Kaylee. Except it's not Kaylee, it's his daughter, who was sick and shit, but he hoped this research would mean a decent paycheck and being able to afford her exorbitant medical bills. Alas, the day of the accident just so happened to be the day she died, upping the body count to 4. Kaylee wants to keep it from going any higher, though, so after much deliberation, Peterson agrees to unlock the doors, allowing her to rush down to save Jed.
You made it!
Which doesn't work. It's a horror movie. The asshole doesn't get to live. With that in mind, who would happen to show up but Andrews, along with a sergeant named Sergeant, played by Adam Collins. The military man drops the bomb that the big theme park attraction, well, they built it for all those theme parks out in the desert full of people we're trying to kill.
You said we were making this for the world to see, to show what the research was capable of.
Not entirely with the program, is she, Peterson?
I was trying to figure out how the hell she didn't know. I mean, how many of these dinosaur-making movies end up going straight into military applications? I mean, it's gotta be well over 50%. As such, they have even more nefarious plans for future research.
Ideally, we want to combine its brutality, strength, and fear-inducing qualities with the skills and trainability of a traditional soldier.
Why? Who out there researching military applications is sitting there like, you know, these drone strikes are nice and all, but you know what would make them even better? If we had to send them home and give them benefits after doing so. And then fail to do so, but, you know, it's getting off track. So Andrews is taking over from here on out, bringing Peterson into the control room, while leaving Sergeant behind to continue telling stories about war and disemboweling people with your bare hands, as you tend to do when you're alone with a lady. However, what's worse is that Andrews thinks Kaylee would be the perfect test subject to print on top of for Tier 2. Clearly Peterson disagrees, but, well, shit happens.
Shoot him.
Wow. No wonder you avoided showing action all movie. You're really not very good at it. After Peterson accidentally starts the process, wouldn't you know it, the nameless character takes cover in the laser room, which he is promptly locked inside, staring down not the Rex, but the big laser printy-on thingy. So they can print out a whole goddamn sexual Tyrannosaurus, but when it comes to making your little mini Rex parts, you need to put that on top of a pre-existing human. Because why? Sense! It would be nice at some point. But who needs to make sense when you can just show that there's some kind of unspecified error, and then show Sergeant has transformed into Dino Sergeant, who then goes crazy and attacks Andrews. No fucking idea if that was due to the error or what, as all the time they spent explaining shit in this movie has ended. Therefore, action scene! They must defeat Dino Sergeant, but oh no, they're out of bullets! I don't really think that counts as Deus Ex Machina. I mean, it makes sense that the Rex was there. I was personally wondering where the fuck he was all scene. The point of it all is now it's down to Peterson, Kaylee, and the Rex, and they must run! The end! I mean, that's abrupt, but it's the ending credits, so it counts, right? Anyway, that there was Killer Saurus, and it is clearly a very low-quality movie. But it does have some pointers that might surprise you. Clearly, this movie was made with next to no budget, very few sets, and about the same amount of actors. Most of the special effects are similarly bad, with the exception of the T-Rex. The Tyrannosaur isn't amazing, but all things considered, it looks impressive for a movie with this kind of budget. However, we don't see very much of it, be that for budgetary reasons or that the director wasn't the best at showcasing action, I'm not sure. However, the strength of the movie, believe it or not, is the storytelling. The vast majority of the movie is spent with the characters sitting around chatting with each other about what's going on or what's happened in the past. The acting is at least okay, with most of the lines going to the better actors on set. This helps in making a movie that actually has the potential to draw you in using nothing but words. Effectively, Killer Saurus is nice for fans of campfire stories. Not that it has any of the usual trappings of those tales, but it works under a similar method of storytelling. Get people together in a situation without the usual safeties of modern life, and recall some tragedy or series of events gone awry. However, at the end of the day, Killer Saurus is still a movie, not an audiobook, and the capabilities of the medium still feel wasted. The whole thing is certainly below average, low budget, and only for cinephiles who have a taste for this kind of stuff, but the storytelling inside the story works remarkably well and actually makes me interested in seeing what else these folks can do. Coming in at 2 Dino Soldier Killer Sergeants out of 5. I mean, it's either that or after 5 years of this shit, my standard of quality has come way down, but yeah, who cares? Thank you all for watching. I've been Dr. Shado, and remember, for your dinosaur growing team, hire a biologist who actually checks the biology of the creatures you're using. It'll save a lot of trouble down the road.
The Queen Mother was an alien?
Oh, that's Jed Bailey.
Unsurprisingly, Peterson has no clue who the what the